Hi, this is Scott Garibay, reporter reporting from the front lines of the Dungeons and Dragons Edition Wars. They're an ongoing war, a set of wars. They are waging right now. There are flames in the air. There's ordnance going. You could see the tracer rounds. The Edition Wars are on. If you have heard reports from D&D commentators on the internet that the Dungeons and Dragons Edition Wars are over, they are quite wrong. So let's get into this. Today I want to talk about winners and losers of the Dungeons and Dragons Edition Wars that are not Dungeons and Dragons editions, right? So I've already done a video that talked all about which Dungeons and Dragons editions won, are winning in the ongoing edition Dungeons and Dragons Edition Wars, and which ones are currently losing in the ongoing edition wars. But what I want to get to right now, right, is I want to get to what are the other tabletop role playing games that are out there that are waging, the edition wars against 5e, D&D 5e, D&D 4e, D&D actually D&D 5e, D&D 4e if you don't know is out of the edition wars. It's been defeated. D&D 3e, right? D&D 2e also out of the edition wars, thoroughly defeated. But D&D 1e. So what other games are doing battle against Dungeons and Dragons right now for players, for the most players, for the best players, and for money, right? Like there's a zero sum number of dollars in the tabletop role playing game industry. It's actually about 125 to 150 million dollars, right? And maybe it grows 10 to 20% if you're lucky every year, but there's a very limited sum. And they all fight over those dollars, right? So the edition wars are being waged for those dollars, for the most players, for the best players. Okay, all right. So what are the editions that are winning the Dungeons and Dragons edition wars? First of all, every game we talk about today is behind D&D 5e, D&D 3e, and D&D 1e. The ones that are still in the games that are still very much in the Dungeons and Dragons Edition War. I'm thoroughly convinced Dungeons and Dragons 2e and 4e are actually not contenders in the D&D Edition Wars. They were in the battle. Those corpses are on the ground now, right? So every game we talk about today is behind D&D 5e, behind D&D 3e, behind D&D 1e, but they're very well ahead of 4e and 2e. Let's talk about them, okay? Winners in the Dungeons and Dragons Edition Wars for games that are not Dungeons and Dragons, that are actually not Dungeons and Dragons official editions. Pathfinder, right now it's only 1e. From everything I can tell, uh, whew, yeah, I'm gonna say it. D&D Pathfinder 2e looks stillborn to me. I don't think that thing ever landed. I invite correction on this, but I do not think that thing came out the way people wanted it to. Right? Like most Pathfinder players I know won't touch it. Right? So, and the only people who are playing it are a few podcasters and YouTubers who are best buds with Paizo. That's it. That's the only players playing Pathfinder 2e as far as I can tell. Okay? I literally have never seen a game in the wild, right? Like not once. All right. So, okay. And I mean like at conventions and things like that when those are still a thing. All right. But Pathfinder is a winner. It is a winner in the ongoing edition wars. No two ways about it. It has put a lot of games behind it, and it's still there, especially Pathfinder 1e. Okay. The other thing is, the other game you can't really count out is Starfinder. It brings a lot of juice to Pathfinder. The next one, OSE, man, Old School Essentials. That game is coming up, yo. Like, that thing is everywhere, right? People talking about it in the comments in my videos. I'm seeing it more and more. It's got a lot of respect. It doesn't cost a lot. It's simple. It is tight. People are playing the heck out of OSE, right? A lot of D&D commentators are hyping it. I think Aaron the Pedantic is on that train. There's a few others, right? But OSE, Questing Beast, big hyper on OSE. And here's why OSE is top dog on my list. My favorite role-playing game in the world next to Dungeons & Dragons is Index Card RPG. And my dude, like the dude who creates Index RPG, will not shut up about OSE. It's crazy, right? And I think there's going to be a lot of OSE, like not stealing that concepts from it, but like homages to OSE in my favorite game, right? That game was coming up. Next is Call of Cthulhu, man. I do not know how this game got this high on the list. What is happening with this thing? I don't understand Call of Cthulhu, right? Like, hey, come on over and make this super cool character. Then you're going to lose your control of that character when they go insane. And they're also going to get eaten in a horrible tentacle, sloppy mess death. I don't know why people are playing this, but they are playing the heck out of it, man. Call of Cthulhu is up. It is a winner in the ongoing edition wars. It's my take. All right. Okay. Who are the losers in the ongoing edition war? Every single one of these is not only behind D&D 5e, D&D 3e, D&D 1e, they're behind everything that you see on this green slide. All these red ones that I'm going to show going forward, they have lost. They got out there, they had their sword and board, they did their slash and bash, and they dropped, man. They slipped in the mud, and they are either dead in the mud, or they're lying and just like keeping their eyes closed, pretending that they're dead because they don't want one of these other games to come over and just hack them down again. Okay, I want to be clear, I love a lot of these games, but they have just clearly lost the ongoing edition wars. These are my takes. Here we go. All right, Powered by the Apocalypse, right? A lot of people love it. There's still people playing it, but it's dying in relevancy, in my opinion. Fate, exactly the same. GURPS, exactly the same. Savage Worlds actually is there and is doing a. I think actually Savage Worlds is doing a better job than GURPS or Fate or. By the way, tell the truth, Fate and GURPS are not. Fate and GURPS are much worse off. Powered by the Apocalypse and Savage Worlds still have a relevant community. They still are losers in the ongoing edition wars, but they're not in the same league as Fate and GURPS. Fate and GURPS is definitely out. Like their corpse is in the ditch, right? PBTA and Savage Worlds, they're laying there. They look dead, but their eyes are closed. They're still awake, right? They're still there, right? All right. What else we got? Traveler, Shadowrun, FFG, and FFG Star Wars. All losers. All losers in the ongoing edition wars. Okay, they're not doing great, right? I think there's a whole lot of issues with these games, and they have dedicated fandoms that are not growing, in my opinion. Shadowrun makes me weep. 6 editions, 7. There are there are 8 editions. Only 6 are recognized. Right now they're on 6e, right? But there are 8 editions at least of Shadowrun. They never got the rules right for that game. Best game, one of the best worlds in all of tabletop role-playing games, could not write a decent rule system literally to save their game. Literally, right? Just so heartbreaking. These two are just super special to me, and I love both these games, but I'm just calling it out. I think they've lost the edition wars. Index card RPG, Blades in the Dark. Okay, these are big dog losers, right? Who else? Warhammer, all editions. People still care about Warhammer, and again, we ain't even talking about. Yeah, you know what? All editions, Warhammer and Warhammer 40k. They still have relevant, communities. They're still out there, but they're losing the edition wars. No two ways about it. And Simba Room, okay? Simba Room, by the way, the most successful international game I know of, personally, that I think is doing well. All right, so those are all my losers in the edition wars. The other thing is, you're like, Scott, there's a lot more games than this. If a game ain't on the list, right? That I think that corpse is done and gone and been picked by the buzzards. It's literally skeletons, right? So there are lots of other games. Where do they come in? If it ain't on this list, it's further down than anything on this list. It's not even recognized in the edition wars anymore, all right? That's my list. What do you think? Do you think there's some losers that should be on the list? People that are picked up out of the skeletons section and put into the red cards, or do you think? Or do you think that there are winners that I didn't recognize? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.